Welcome to English with Teacher Dixon. I want to consider a very important subject matter as long as English language is concerned, and that is Concord. What do we mean by Concord in English language? This has to do with the unity or harmony between or among constituents of a sentence. What do we mean by constituents of a sentence? The different words, that's words from different classes we have in a sentence. In a sentence, we can have a noun, we can have a verb, an adverb, an adjective at different positions. All of them constitute the constituents of the sentence. So, Concord has to do with the agreements or the harmony between one aspect of the sentence and another. Now, in a very relatable way, I want to say that the constituents of a sentence include the subject, the verb, the objects, or the adjunct. These are different parts of a sentence. For instance, before you have a sentence, there must be the doer of the action. That is if and only if an action is performed in the sentence. So the doer of the action is the subject of the sentence. And then the action itself is the verb. And who or what the action is performed on is the object. So these are three segments of a sentence which must agree for us to have a sentence, because a sentence is a statement that makes sense. If a statement does not make sense, then it is not a sentence. Another thing I would like you to note, which is very important as long as Concord is concerned, is what we have agreement on. The very first thing is agreement in number. It is pivotal to understand the number in English language before you can talk about agreement, because the subject of a sentence must agree with the verb based on number. Again, we have person. The subject must agree with the other part of the sentence based on person. Also, two sentences must agree based on tense. So we have three things, three different concepts we consider under the broad topic known as Concord. Concord in tense, Concord in number, and Concord in person. Alright, so now let me give a typical example of Concord in number. The boys play as different from the boy plays. When you say the boys, that is a plural subject, so it must go with a plural verb. That's why we have the boys play, and then the boy is singular, hence we have plays. Now the question should be, why do we have is, which is normally supposed to be a plural marker in a singular verb? And this question can only be answered satisfactorily when there is the understanding of the difference between number in noun and number in verbs. These are two different things. These are two different concepts. When we are talking about numbers in noun, that is when we call is a plural marker, because the noun that ends with is the plural form. But when you consider a verb, the reverse is the case. The verb in its base form is the plural form, whereas the one with is the singular form. For instance, play is plural, whereas plays is singular. But considering noun, that's naming words, boy is singular, but boys is plural. I'm going to explain this more in my subsequent video. Thank you for watching this. I remain Teacher Dixon.